Stupidity is not a competition, unless you're a politician. The Daily Mojo.
And on that note, let's bring in Phil Bell, the director of External Relations and Affairs over at Freedomworks.org, and also your host for Phil Bell's morning update each morning here on the Daily Mojo. How you doing?
I'm good, although I have to admit I did go over to the other tab to see if I could find that video while you were talking. It sounds sad and hilarious all at the same time.
It really it's two parts of sadness and one part of disbelief and another part of it's 2023, so it's not really all that surprising.
Yeah.
All right, so this is I can believe we're talking about this again, but it's just so dumbfounding. The COVID-19 thing, they're going to try, it looks like they're going to try to resurrect this whole mess, aren't they?
It looks like someone's going to try. So there have been a few articles out there over the past few days, one of them talking about how the Biden regime has gone out and been letting contracts related to testing kits and also consultants who are supposed to help ostensibly enforce COVID mandates and rules. Now, that's one of the parts I find all Orwellian, but one of the parts that I find to be really strange. What kind of a consultant do you hire to help enforce COVID mandates? I mean, is there a Karen job out there where they have, the women with their hair cut in the "can I see a manager" and their job is to come out here and nag me to do? I don't know, but in all seriousness, that's what they're doing. That's number one. Number two, though, the most notable has come from Atlanta with Morris Brown College that put a Instagram post where they said, "Look, you're going to have to wear masks."
Oops. Hang on a second. Hold on. I inadvertently cut you off. There we go. Sorry, I cut you off there for a second. Go ahead. They at Morris Brown College say what they did again.
Yeah, the mask mandates are back. Socialist distancing is back. No parties, no fun, no nothing. And they end the post with, I think it is hashtag the hard reset. It sounds a lot like the Great Reset to me, but hashtag the hard reset. And what's very interesting from the article that I sent you, the image of the post shows there were over 100 comments there. Now when you go to the post, there are 0.
Whoa, you mean they're like censoring the comment? They don't want to hear what the folks have to say. That's kind of weird.
Right.
Is this going to work, you think? I mean, we have a citizenry who we've all bitched very loudly, at least, people in my orbit anyway, have complained about what happened, have, laid blame where blame is due. But there are enough, unfortunately, useful idiots out there that, and we see them every week on Instagram, that will just go along with this like sheeple. I mean,
yeah. Do
we have a snowball's chance? Please tell me yes.
We do have a chance. We have a very good chance. But the important thing to remember is let me back up. Let me say it this way. The success we've had over the centuries in this country has been good in that it's allowed us to build up to everything that we find to be outstanding, but it's also made us very, very weak. We don't understand when threats come to us, and we're still willing to sit here and say, oh, well, if somebody who's official says something, well, I can go along with it. That's okay. No, I don't need to question that. That's where this comes from. Now, think about it for a second. You're just starting your school year. Why are you going to tell these students who are coming in, you know what, put a mask on, don't socialize, don't do anything, especially after you've seen the impact of that, of what happened recently. And that's to all people, not just kids.
This was this an Instagram? Yeah, Instagram post.
Instagram, yeah.
Let's see, dear greetings, faculty. Let me punch this up here. Dear faculty, staff, and students, effective immediately, Morris Brown College reinstated COVID-19 mask mandate due to reports of positive cases among students in the Atlanta University Center over the next 14 days. Following protocols will take place. And again, even though we have evidence that masks don't do a damn thing. I shouldn't say that. They can, obviously. I mean, use common sense. Anytime if you're spitting out your mouth, they can stop spit from coming out of your mouth, or at least flying around. But effectively and statistically, they did nothing to slow, stop, or avert the COVID cases. So all students and employees are going to be required to wear face masks. Staff may remove in their offices while alone. Students must maintain physical distancing. They don't say how much of a physical distance. And again, since the whole Rona scamdemic, we found out that 6 feet was just a horseshit number they came up with. It meant nothing. So I wonder if that's why they didn't put that in.
Yeah, it was an arbitrary number. And then think about, so what does that mean for the college experience? It means I'm going to go there. The pretty girls that are walking around, I can't really get close to them. Now, in fairness, I can't really do that anyway, but I'm not supposed to. That'll put a mask on my face. But the other thing is, look a little bit further. So contact tracing, so they want to restart that, despite that having no positive impact whatsoever. And the other, which is the worst, isolation and quarantine. Now, for all the quarantining, for all the lockdowns, for all of that happen, how many of you out there have gotten COVID? Everybody has.
Yeah.
Everybody. It didn't stop a darn thing. And yet you want to go back down the path. But
and they'll do it. And they'll do it because young skulls full of mush and all that. Because again, we think of them as being older, but 18-year-olds essentially.
Especially in the culture we have now, where we raise people to develop so much later. But here's what I also want to point out. In the CBS article that showed this, here's a quote. It says, "This is what endemic means. It doesn't go away," said Dr. Jane Morgan, Executive Director of Health and Community Education at Piedmont Healthcare. Quote, "We know now with this heat wave, so many people have been driven indoors when we're usually outdoors. We're also traveling a lot during the summer. So we're carrying the virus from one group to the next." That is exactly the same rhetoric, ripped a page right out of the 2020 playbook. Okay, well, now we're indoors. That's bad. We'd normally be outdoors. We're traveling. We're taking it from here to there. So what is the next thing? Well, you know what? While you're traveling, why don't you put a mask on that airplane? And why don't you have one of those flight attendants go down and bother you and threaten to throw you off if it's just slightly down here? Which, by the way, I did have happen. Yeah, that's what they're trying to do. And it's all because we're not doing our jobs.
Is this, I assume that part of the reason they're doing this is because of the election, and they're just prepping to do the mail-in ballots and all of that. And I mean, it's just part of the playbook, right?
The election is one. Number two, I really do believe they've stepped in it big time with all their lawfare against Donald Trump. So there's a lot of attention focused on the regime anyway. Number three, let's not forget that there's this little guy named Hunter Biden who happens to be related to Joe Biden, who's now we're steadily uncovering more and more of the wrongdoing there. We also have a war that we're fighting, and let's be honest, we're fighting the war, and we're not doing a very good job of it against Zelensky. And finally, something else that's been overlooked very much in the media, there were several major banks that were downgraded and several more that were placed on watch for downgrade, including State Street, one of the biggest woke institutional managers, where I used to work, by the way. And that means our economy is faltering. If the banks that serve the wealthy people and institutions are in trouble, the economy is faltering. So a faltering economy, an administration that's in decline, and also we're talking about a losing war. What else do you do?
Right, distraction.
Absolutely.
And the Hunter Biden thing, is that ever going to come to a head? Do you think that I mean, are we ever going to see anything? Because it seems like it's all happening in slow motion.
It's possible, but we're going to need Congress, members of Congress, especially Republicans, to change the way they're approaching it. So what we always do whenever there's a scandal on the Republican side is we go out and we say we're going to have hearings, and then we have a lot of discussion of minutia that make people shut down. And frankly, even someone like me who really cares about it, it's hard to wade through a lot of the minutia. Now, part of that's because that's the way the crimes are committed. They're committed in a way that makes them difficult to figure out. But also, when you're focusing on minutia, someone who has a short attention span, they're scrolling on to the next thing, they don't have time. So we've got to be just as tight with this the way the Democrats are when they come after us. They say, you guys are a fraud, and then folks will believe it. So we've got to do the same thing.
You nailed it right there, because it's some of those hearings are so difficult to watch just because they plod along and they don't fit the Law and Order. They don't fit any of the crime shows, the procedurals that we've seen where things happen like this, and at the end of that hour, you got the guy in handcuffs walking out, and it's wrapped up. And we never get to that. It's like the never-ending story.
Well, here's a question. Why are we having all the preliminary discussions in Congress right now anyway? Why isn't this just being gathered and gathered and gathered and gathered until you have the smoking gun and make it available right there? Hit them with it, and that way they don't have a chance to recover. Oh, shucks, Joe Biden met with whoever Zelensky's predecessor is and shook him down for money, and here's the audio. Boom, there you go. Something you can convict him on. Easy. Now you're done. You didn't take up any time, and he can't recover from it. So it's that approach. But here's the other thing to think about. What have we learned in the past few days? That Joe Biden was using a fake name in his email account. Well, guess what? Everybody who gets on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and so on and who uses a fake name, and they all do it. And why do they do it? Because they want to like things they don't want other people to know they're liking. They want to have conversations they don't want others to know they're having. So it's easy to relate. It's easy for the average Joe to say, oh, I created that account so I could go like bikini models. Well, that's just like Joe Biden creating this account so he can go and conversate about illegal activity. You know what? I'm not voting for Joe Biden. Simple.
And somebody brought up a good point. It actually may have been Bongino I was listening to, and he said, "Look, we always get the reply from KJP and the rest of the White House when asked about Hunter Biden's activities. Well, he's not an employee of the government. He's a family member, blah, blah, blah. And now we have these official government emails copied to Hunter Biden. So I think that we can probably set that aside. There's a good argument to be made for, okay, he was in on these deals. Otherwise, why was he copied on these emails, right?
Right. And why are we even talking to KJP anyway? We know what her job is just to give the regime's talking points and repeat whatever it is they want to say. Don't even worry about her. Let her be over there. Go talk to her when we've got, and I'm sure Jim Jordan and the rest of his crew does have the evidence, but when we put it out there, what time will he be resigning? Where on the tarmac will he be going? Where is Air Force One parked so we can take our cameras there? Those are the only questions we need to ask her. Right. Yeah, good point. All right, real quickly before I let you go, what do you think is going on in Maui? Is it just incompetence, or is there something else going on over there? I think it's all of it. I think there's incompetence. I think there are. So it always starts with incompetence, and then it's followed by, hey, look, we have an opportunity here. And this is where you can do something like the 15-minute city, redevelopment, you name it, quote unquote, sustainability, whatever it is. I think there are folks out there who want to take advantage of that. And just remember, when COVID started, what did guy from South Carolina, Congressman Clyburn, say? Oh, well, this is the perfect opportunity to run the agenda we want to run. So I absolutely think there's a fair amount of that happening here. It really is. It's terrifying. All right. Why should people get on over to Freedomworks? If you don't want a mask on your face, if you don't want to live with sky-high interest rates, if you want to have the freedom you were born to believe we're supposed to have, get involved and be part of the solution. Go to freedomworks.org, join a freedom team, find fellow patriots. You'll have a great time, and you'll save our country too. You got it. All right, my friend. And again, kudos on the morning updates. Those are fabulous, and we'll have another one of those tomorrow. Until then, be well, my friend. Sounds great.
The First Amendment lives here. Watch and listen at thedailymojo.com.